Okay, guys, great job in those last two games, especially that 3-0 win there against Man City. 9 points from 9 in a dream position. And if we can win this next game, we should already be guaranteed our path through and hopefully in top spot as well. Okay, so usually I tell you guys it's going to be tough. We're traveling to a big stadium, but it's Man City. They don't have any fans. So just a bunch of Oasis songs playing in the background. That's all you got to deal with. Let's go out there, do what we did at my arena, and secure ourselves a passage through that first knockout round.
Looking for trouble and fights, but you found me. Now I'm a screw up, but baby, I'm glad you're someone to rely on, someone to rely on. No, I'm a screw up, but baby, I could be someone to rely on, someone to rely on, someone to rely on.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 181 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and coming up in today's episode is a rematch from yesterday, this time at the Etihad, as we do take on Manchester City in the group stages of the Champions League. And off the back of that, after an update on HK in the Europa League and Nuts KR in the Conference League, we are going to do our end of season review. So if you are looking forward to this episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But this is what the group does look like off the back of our second and third match week in yesterday's episode. If you missed those games, I'll leave a link to that episode over in the top right corner. Very importantly, in the second of those games, we did pick up a 3-0 win against today's opposition in Manchester City. And what that does mean is if we can pick up a win here away from home, that will guarantee ourselves a spot in the first knockout round for the Champions League at the start of 2037, the start of next week. And it will pretty much also guarantee ourselves top spot in the group unless somehow Sparta Prague or Dynamo Zagreb, more likely Sparta Prague, jump above Man City and they somehow find a way to get above us on goal differential and head-to-head. But if we can win this game, it goes a long way towards us establishing ourselves as the top seeds for that first knockout round draw, which we will have in tomorrow's episode. But not much has changed since the second game of yesterday's episode, that 3-0 win that I did just mention against Manchester City. So we're pretty much going to get straight into the action today. I think both teams are going to be pretty similar, so we'll come back shortly from the Etihad Stadium with the team sheets as we try and secure ourselves a passage into the first knockout round against Manchester City. And here are the team sheets for this lone game of today's episode. There are Manchester City looking pretty similar to how they did look when we beat them 3-0 in yesterday's episode. Something I did forget to mention, of course, one of our former players there in Tomohiro Horikawa on the bench, but there we are exactly the same as we were yesterday, and hopefully we can pick up a similar result, albeit might be a little bit tougher here away from home in Manchester. And 7 minutes into this one, we have the first highlight in our favour. We are in the black today, Man City in their sky blue, but we have a free kick here and can hopefully get on the front foot nice and early. And Ognar Miskic shot from just outside the box will rocket that into the bottom right corner. What a dream start that is. And already we have a 1-0 lead here at the Etihad. Does actually look like there's a few people there, so that's a little bit unrealistic. But nonetheless, good ball here from Lasana Doumbia out to Berger. Gets it up to Miskic, little 1-2 between him and Benvenu Bay. A very nice finish there. 1-0 Völsungur, nice and early. And only a few minutes off the back of that opening goal, it is a throw-in here for Manchester City as they do look to strike back. But a good little triple team there on big old Erling Haaland. And we get the ball back. Carl Vollen will pass that one to Ali Ramadan. We're getting pressed a little bit high. Vollen will pump this deep. It's a missed header. Good chance here for Adam Saki to make it a quick double. Tries to chip the goalkeeper, very much like the Champions League final last week. Just a bit too much on that one, but we still hold a 1-0 lead. And we now make our way forward to the 16-minute mark for our next highlights. We're getting a few here early in this one. Man City with a goal kick, which they do play short and look to play out from the back themselves and try and find a way to even this game back up. But so far, a very good start for us with that 1-0 lead. That's a little bit of a mistake there, though, from Radenko Krolin. Ansu Fati starts to make his way forward. We do mark him, but somehow gets the ball off to Erling Haaland. And big bad Erling will grab an equaliser here for Manchester City. It's a simple tap in there at the near post. Actually quite similar, I think, to the first goal that we scored against these guys in that game yesterday. Ansu Fati, not quite as unmarked as Bayer was, but somehow still puts that ball in there, and Erling Haaland beats Vollen at the near post. And just like that, Man City do grab an equaliser, and that makes it 1-1. And shortly off the back of that, City now with a corner, and thankfully Krollo is there to deal with that Lukumi header. So a few good chances there for Man City, 1-1 at the 20-minute mark. And we go forward now to the 37-minute mark, down the other end for a corner of our own. Basaroge gets his head on the end of that, but just on the wrong side of the post. Still 1-1 with a few minutes left in this first half. And that is half time in this lone clash of today's episode, 1-1, which would still be enough for us to be in a strong position to be getting out of this group and in first place as well, with that 3-point buffer over Manchester City. But we're playing all right, just a little bit of a switch around from yesterday where we have more shots on target. This time Man City have more shots on target, so we'll tell the boys to improve on that, and we'll get the second half underway, locked up at 1-1. And just shy of the hour mark, no highlights so far in the second half, but we are going to make our first substitution. Jonathan Berger only on a 6.4, as is Adam Saki, but have a little bit more faith in Adam Saki compared to the bench option. We can bring on Louis Herrera at left back, and I don't think we'll miss out on too much there. So that's going to be our first substitution. Half hour left and still locked up at 1-1. And a few minutes off the back of that first substitution, we are on the attack here. Adam Saki makes his way into the final third with some hold-up play. Basaroge back over there for Adam Saki, and now Louis Herrera fresh off the bench, far post. And therefore Agatigere, a shot there from Lassana Doumbia, forces a really good save there out of the Manchester City goalkeeper. So that's the first real chance of the second half. It keeps it at 1-1, but then Basaroge off the subsequent corner will put that into the right corner, and there is our goal, which puts us in front, and that will ensure us that we do make our way through to the first knockout round. If we can keep this scoreline, that's the first highlight, as I said, of the second half. Good earlier chance for Doumbia, but he grabs an assist on that corner. Nice header from Basaroge to make it 2-1. And we go forward a few minutes off the back of that goal to start off the second half, and it is Manchester City looking to play out from the back. Hamilton will play that back to Lukumi, who did have a good chance there in the first half, but it was cleared off the line by Radenko Krollo. Erling Haaland there with a big chance after a bit of a sloppy pass back, but he goes a little bit community shield on that one, blasts it over the bar. That was a big chance there for a City equaliser. Thankfully, we get away with that. We're going to make a change though. Lassana Doumbia down to a red heart. Bruno Costa will come on for him. We are still somehow 2-1 up with just over 20 minutes left. And not too long off the back of making that second substitution, we do have the goal kick off the back of that big missed chance by Erling Haaland, and then Man City look to get on the front foot, but Radenko Krollo again steps in and gets possession back for us, plays the ball forward here, trying to pick out Agatigere, but Renata's there to play that back to the City goalkeeper, but he pumps it straight into the path of Filippo Donelli. And again, we're going to try and get something going here down our right-hand side. Can we grab a cushion goal here inside these last 20 minutes and make it a double over Manchester City in the group stage of the Champions League this season? That would be a big confidence boost going into the first knockout round, even though we've still got one more episode before then. Ball over the top there for Agatigere, and a little bit of space, tries to beat the goalkeeper from a narrow angle, but it rebounds, falls back into his path, squares that for Bruno Costa. He puts it away in the bottom right corner, and yet again we have scored 3 goals against Manchester City, and there are still 20 minutes left here in this game away from home, and that is the cushion goal we were looking for. Agatigere there, the defender gets in the way, but some smart thinking, just squares it immediately for Bruno Costa off the rebound. He puts it away, 2 goals up here with 20 minutes left. And we've gone forward a few minutes off the back of that third goal. Both of our wingers are down to a red heart, so I think we're going to make our last substitution. Ognjan Mizkic did grab a goal early on, very good goal as well, and he is somehow on the lowest rating off the back of that Agatigere assist. I would assume Christopher Allargard could probably use the game time here late in this one, so that will be our last substitution. Allargard for Mizkic with 15 minutes left and a 3-1 lead. And we are inside the last few minutes of this one, about to enter injury time. There is going to be 4 minutes, but we've just gone on top of Man City here in the second half. We've scored 2 goals, and this is going to be a very nice win as Sparta Prague grab a late goal there against Dynamo Zagreb, which will put them in pole position to finish in third spot. But that win ensures that we are going to go through to the first knockout round and takes us a long way as well to securing top spot in this group, unless things go terribly, terribly wrong in tomorrow's episode against both Sparta Prague and Dynamo Zagreb. I think we just need 1 point out of those 2 games. So as I said, we should be going through in top spot, but that's another very good performance against a classy Manchester City team. And if that was on aggregate, that would be a 6-1 win. So very encouraging signs there going into the knockouts, even though that does happen at the start of next week. But a very good win there, and that secures us our path through to the first knockout round, picking up a 3-1 win at the Etihad. We'll come back shortly and get into the end of season review stuff, but before then, check in on HK and Nuts KR in the Europa and Conference Leagues. And we are back, not quite up to the end of season review just yet, but there's something else which might be interesting to a few of you guys. But before we do check in on that, we're going to do an update on the Europa League and the Conference League. And first off, it is Group F in the Europa League with HK. And yet again, unfortunately, they have fallen to a defeat against Nice, this time away from home, and by a lesser scoreline of 2-1. It would have actually been quite nice if they could somehow find a way to draw that game, though, because Nice did go down to 10 men for the last 15 minutes or so, so they potentially should have got out of that game with a draw, but that does mean that they fall down to third on the table, but only 1 point behind Maccabi Haifa, and they do still have 2 games left in the group against the weakest teams in that group. I think it is fair to say, away against Astana and then at home to Maccabi Haifa, so I think HK still in with a shot of making the Europa League knockouts, or at the very least the Conference League knockouts, as they are still 3 points clear of Astana. A win in that first game in tomorrow's episode should make sure that they will finish in third spot at the very least. And down to the Conference League, things not quite looking as rosy for Nuts KR. Unfortunately, they have dropped points at home there, losing 2-1 to Kurga, so they are down there on 3 points, just slightly above Valerenga, off the back of beating those guys earlier on in the first half of matches in the Conference League. But 2 losses there for the other Icelandic teams. HK still in a decent position, but Nuts KR now 6 points behind both their Georgian and Danish opposition. Might be a little bit tough for those guys unless they can pick up 2 wins in their last 2 games and also have a few results go their way as well, just to help out that goal differential and the head-to-head deciders as well. But before we do get forward into the end of season review, the first thing that's come up, which I thought might be a little bit interesting, we have had the awards for the domestic season here in Iceland. We'll cover those off when we do the end of season awards, but here is the team of the year for the Icelandic top division. We don't usually bring this to you guys, but a little bit interesting that despite the fact that we did win all 22 of our games, we've only got 3 players here in the team of the year. Lasana Dumbia, Christopher Alagard, not too much of a surprise with those 2, but as well as that, Alvaro Ispolua has somehow made his way into this team. He is our 3rd choice defensive midfielder here at Völsungur this current season. He did go out on loan to, I believe it was Phil Kerr. They weren't playing him that much, so we called him back. He's only played 15 games, so it's actually quite a decent chunk of football for the top division here in Iceland, but 1 assist in 15 games. Not too sure if that's quite enough to get in that team of the year, a decent average rating, but still thought there might be better options out there, even if they did play less games. But nonetheless, Alvaro Ispolua is the 3rd member of our Völsungur team here to make his way into that top division team of the year. A little bit interesting to see that Phil Kerr have 4 players, despite the fact that we did beat them by 19 points there on the league table. But that's the first update. We'll come back shortly if anything else comes up before that end of season review. And something else interesting has popped up in the inbox. It's the Goal 50 top players in the world here for 2036. As you can see on screen, Yusufa Makoko is ranked number 1 ahead of a 39-year-old Marcus Rashford at Newcastle United. That one was a bit of a surprise. And Vincent from Man United, a player who has been transfer listed a few times recently. He is there in 3rd, very good Swiss striker, come winger. But we're going to update you guys on the Völsungur players on this list. As you can tell by that top 10, Lasana Dumbia is in 9th place, and as well as that, we do have Carl Vollen in there in 21st place as well. So we do have one of the top 10 players in the world these days, Lasana Dumbia, making his way into that top 10, 9th place there on the Goal 50 list. And going forward a little bit further off the back of that Goal 50 list, for the first time in the save, we might have someone who is up for the FIFA Ballon d'Or. Very exciting indeed. Lasana Dumbia is in the discussion, as is Adam Saki as well. Of course, he's had a brilliant year, scoring over 50 goals in our Icelandic season, and they are in the mix alongside, of course, Yusufa Makoko, Erling Haaland, as well as Jeffrey Vincent, who you did just see before on that Goal 50 list. But very interesting to see we might have 2 players in the hunt for the Ballon d'Or. But we have now got forward to our end of season review here for 2036. Just the 4 trophies listed there. Of course, we did win the Champions League in 2036 as well, but for some reason that one does not show up, seeing as we have ticked over into the new European season. So it was 5 trophies won, not quite as good as last season, where we did win 6 with the Super Cup as well, but we'll get to the results shortly and explain why that wasn't the case. Just 3 new signings here at the club this season. The highest rated of those was Robson, our new backup goalkeeper, to replace Peter Husavik. He's had 10 appearances and has had a 7.25 average rating. Not too bad there for the young, promising Brazilian. As well as that, we got Maurizio Menga here to replace Hans Voss for £6 million. 6 appearances, 2 off the bench, and 6 goals and 9 assists. He's been very, very good. A little bit surprised that he did not get signing of the season based on those stats. And as well as that, of course, Jonathan Berger, the big money signing for this new European season that we are currently in. £51 million to get him from Chelsea to step in for us at left back, 17 appearances and 4 assists, a 7.14 rating for him. Not too bad either. So just those 3 signings, and at the moment, all 3 of them are playing very well here at Völsungur. But Robson did pick up the signing of the season in terms of transfers out. One youngster there up the top. He's the one with the highest average rating. Out at Midtjylland, Peter Husavik, we got rid of him, of course, for 20 million. He's doing a decent job for Lille, but I thought that was good money for a player. We did only spend 2.4 million on around about the mid-2020s. Below that, a few other players who weren't getting much game time here at Völsungur, who we got some minimal fees for. Ian Carlo, he left us for £2.3 million, also in his young 30s, so don't think that's too bad for a player who we did pick up on a free transfer. Hans Voss, we got 35 million for, I think, replacing him with Maurizio Menga. We're not missing out on too much there, even though Menga has been injured for the group stages of the Champions League so far, but not too sure if Menga would have made his way onto the bench as well. Filip Jakubov, we got rid of him for a small fee. Not too bad for a player yet. Again, we made a decent profit on. And a few other youngsters who we got some decent money for there. Frederick Larsson left us on a free transfer. It was a little bit frustrating, but nonetheless, he gave us some great service there. Went to Eintracht Frankfurt. And as well as that, Bjarni Olafsson, one of our homegrown talents, he went off to Nuts KR. So on the whole, I think that transfer window did work out pretty well for us. The business that we did do around and leading into this new European season, I do think our squad is stronger than it was at this time last season. And yet again, we do have quite a few players out on loan, including a few ones that we did get rid of on European deadline day. You can see there we have players at the likes of Hamburg, Nuremberg, Lune, and as well as that Legia Warsaw. So we've got quite a few players here, some youngsters who will hopefully turn into first team players in the future out and about around Europe. A little bit frustrating that no Icelandic teams did come in for some of those players, but we go forward to this season's results. We start off for some reason on the Super Cup page, just bringing up our failure immediately. We lost that one 3-2 to RB Leipzig at the start of this week. A little bit frustrating because, of course, I had my centre backs around the wrong way for that game. If that was not the case, we might have won that one. But nonetheless, RB Leipzig did beat us in that one. That is why we are 1 trophy shy of what we did last season, but we did win all of the other competitions. The Islands dealt them very comfortably, 19 points over Filkia. HK will be in Europa League qualifying next season, and Nuts KR and Valor in Conference League qualifying. We picked up the Champions League, of course, with that 2-0 win over Man United in the final. The only real scare was probably that game against Lille, the first leg that we did lose 2-1, but then we bounced back very nicely with that 5-1 win at home in the second leg. And from there, pretty comfy stuff, picking up wins in the first legs against Liverpool and Chelsea, and just holding on in the second leg before we did win that final in quite good fashion. And so far, we've been doing very, very well here in the group stage. For 2036, the Molkebicker, and we picked this one up fairly comfortably, capped off with a 3-1 win over Akranes in the final, which you did see earlier this week. The Super Cup, this was a lot closer, but we still won it 2-1 over HK in the Djurgården. This was also quite comfy, a 6-0 win early on in the calendar year here. That was actually before the Champions League final last European season, beating Phil Kerr there to pick up yet another domestic quadruple. The moments to remember, our biggest win was in the league. We beat Glotta 9-1 in September, so quite a good result there as we did go through the season undefeated. Also in the league was apparently our match to remember as we bet a 10-man KA by 8-0. I would definitely be putting the Champions League final over that game as the match to remember, but nonetheless, that's what the game has decided. And our goal of the season, also in the domestic league here in Iceland, and it did go to Benvenu Bayer at the 5-minute mark. away at Shaun. Absolutely battered these guys with our rotation team, but this goal did come from a corner cleared initially. Menga puts that there in for Benvenu Bayer and just curves that into the top right corner. A really, really good finish there from the French midfielder. No doubts about that being the goal of the season. We scored a few like that, but it's hard to argue that one would not be up there with the best of them, and that goal was the one which did pick up goal of the season in that 6-0 thrashing. Over to the finances, everything here has gone up, so very good news indeed, and also, of course, our reputation off the back of winning that second Champions League did bump up to 5 stars as well, so definitely one of the biggest clubs in the world at this stage of the season. As well as that, I think our merchandise sales and amount of shirts sold has been going up quite significantly of late as well, topped by Lassana Doumbia and followed by Saki Bayer, Volin and Agatigere. So all good news there. In the finance section, we'll check in on the best 11 shortly because, as you know by now, the screen isn't usually correct. And then we get over to the club awards. A little bit surprisingly, our player of the season was Lassana Doumbia. I was kind of expecting Adam Saki to pick that up with those 55 goals that he did score this season. I thought that would be enough for him to get over the line, but Lassana Doumbia has won the fans player of the season. Maybe he's got a bit more of a shout of winning that FIFA Ballon d'Or if someone from the club does win that. The young player of the season, though, did go to Adam Saki at 24 years old. Might be a little bit of a stretch that for young player of the season. Might be a little bit of a consolation award, that one. You saw before the signing of the season. And goal of the season, as mentioned before, top goal scorer, Adam Saki with 55 goals. A ridiculous effort from him there. Most assists, though, did go to Lassana Doumbia with 20. Most man of the matches was actually a tie, as you can see there on the right-hand side. Adam Saki also had 10 this season, but Lassana Doumbia also picked that up, the highest average rating, Adam Saki. So as I said, a little bit surprised he did not pick up the overall player of the season. And then we've got the award for the most passes per 90 minutes in terms of the record breakers. Saki's 55 goals, the most in a season, and also the most league goals in a season for him as well, with 21. That did mean he did pick up the Icelandic Golden Boot, also the most goals by a player in a league match with 5, and the most player of the matches tied with Lassana Doumbia with 10, and Fabio Mariano still has the most league goals at the club by a player of 77. And then we go over to the competition awards. The African Defender of the Year did go to Ali Ramadan. You've seen some of these Champions League awards off the back of us winning that at the end of last week, but just to recap, Lassana Doumbia did pick up the Champions League midfielder of the season, and Carl Volin, the goalkeeper of the season. You might have spoiled before as well in terms of the top division in Iceland, that Lassana Doumbia was the player of the year, and Christopher Allegard, the young player of the year. And as I mentioned, with those 21 goals in the league, Adam Saki did pick up the Golden Boot. And yet again, despite the fact that we did not lose a single game or even draw one, we somehow have not picked up a managerial award. That one went to the manager of Nuts KR, despite them finishing lower than they actually did this time last season. So not too sure if I'm ever going to win another managerial award in this save. I think it is fair to say, but we'll just scoot on over and now check in on the best 11 for this season and the overall best 11. And here is what the best 11 does look like for 2036 in this save. Carl Volin in goal, as you would expect, of course, with us getting rid of Peter Lervik halfway through the season with a 7.19. Our back four, Pedro Lemos is in there with a 7.36. Very, very good backup to Radenko Krolo, our centre-back partnership there with Denali and Ali Ramadan. And it is Louis Herrera on the left-hand side. Of course, Jonathan Berger only coming in around halfway through the season as well. Probably didn't give him much time to make his way into that best 11. In terms of the midfield, Basaro Gay, good season for him with a 7.51 alongside Lassana Doumbia with those 10 goals to go alongside those 20 assists. In the 33 appearances, 8.09 average rating for the player of the season, according to the fans/board. And the Rek Boscanyan has actually beaten Benvenu Bayer into that Mazzala role with a 7.78 average rating, 15 goals in 19 appearances. Very good there for the young Armenian. In our front three, Agatigere with a 7.58, only 6 goals, but probably got quite a few assists out there. On the right-hand side, Christopher Allegard, really good, 16 goals in 21 appearances with a 7.85. And as mentioned, Adam Saki, 55 goals in 31 appearances. Still think he got a little bit robbed there in terms of the player of the season, one of the better seasons the players had so far in this save there. For the Moroccan striker, our bench is made up of Robson, Richard Waswa, Gabriel Kapan, Benvenu Baya, Alain Basicki, Ognan Mizkic, and Heiko Kunzi. And for some reason, we didn't actually get an update on the overall best 11 in our inbox. We're going to have to do it from this screen, so a little bit hard to tell if there's been any changes made. It might mean there actually hasn't been any. So still in goal, Huel Lurvik, a back four of Imbiamba at right back, which is a little bit interesting. Polo and DePrisco at centre back, and Leandro Diaz at left back. Basaro Gay, Lasana Dumbia, and Kalen Rakasan in the midfield. So Bayer still hasn't quite made his way into this team. In the front three, Nicholas Zimmerman, Chaka Traore, players who were in the Champions League finals of a few seasons ago, and Adam Saki is up there as the striker with 184 goals and 131 appearances. And the bench is made up of Mikel Serafellini, Ali Ramadan, Gabriel Corbo, Fabio Mariano, Patrick Nygaard, Frederick Larson, and João Pedro is still there as the backup striker. And we'll go back to the inbox now and see what else could be of interest. The signings of the season that went to a player from Keflavik, quite a few players there from Philcare as well. Malesio Minga, one of the runners up, but as I mentioned a few times in the past, I think our transfer fees paid are too high these days. That probably means we're not going to win this award, much like we don't do with the manager of the season. Going up a little bit further, we've got an update for some reason of the side from 2021 as well. Only two of them are still playing, and they are playing for a team called the Vanguard Jupiters. We'll just check whereabouts they are. They are in the 5th tier of Icelandic football, so a bit of a drop for some of the players that we did start the save off with, because of course we did start in 2021 still playing Christopher Sigtryggsson. I think he might have been one of our first choice goalkeepers when we did get to the club here at Völsungur. We'll do a quick look at him and see how much game time he did get here when we started the save off. 21 appearances. You can see at 18 goals, not a bad player who we did actually have on loan from Philcare, but we didn't bother getting him back. So he is there in the 5th division of Icelandic football, as is Daniel Hreidarsson. Of course, he was the baby-faced assassin here for a few years and was also quite useful in the early stages of European football, being homegrown at the club. We had him for a few seasons, didn't get a lot of game time off the back of the first year that we did play in this save, and he's been sort of floating around ever since then, especially down in the 3-dealed and the 4-dealed, the 4th and 5th divisions of Icelandic football. But I think that's going to do it for today's episode. Good win there against Manchester City, which does mean that we are qualified for the first knockout round of the Champions League in 2037, as well as that, rounding off a few things with the end of season review. If you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Tomorrow we are going to play the last 2 games of our Champions League group. We'll just go over and find the right screen so I can actually show you guys these fixtures. We just need the 1 point from them to secure top spot in the group. First off, we take on Sparta Prague at home, and off the back of that we travel away to Dynamo Zagreb. We might not need to show you guys the full game for that second one, depending on how things do go, because that game could be completely irrelevant if Zagreb are in bottom spot and if we are top, already having secured top spot in the group. So it will depend on results, but I'd imagine we might just show you guys that Sparta Prague game and then get by with the highlights of that one against Dynamo Zagreb if we do get the job done against Sparta Prague. Just a draw needed in that game to secure ourselves top spot for that first knockout round draw, which we will have. And of course, we are going to also keep an eye on HK in the Europa League and Nuts KR in the Conference League. Definitely a little bit more on HK, as they look like they might be making their way into the knockouts of European football yet again. So that's what's coming up in tomorrow's episode. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.